I am in here this morning making a traditional Appalachian breakfast. I've got the biscuits patted out. I've got a video on how to make Appalachian biscuits. Those are not cat heads because I've got the little grandkids here and they just eat smaller biscuits this morning. And here I've got some leaf lard that I'm just rendering down this morning because I'm going to make gravy. And I wanted to use the fat from this leaf lard to add to that and make the gravy. So I'm making some of that this morning. I made sausage. I've got fresh eggs. This is the flour from the biscuits that I've got left over, which I'll be using in making the gravy. So that's what I'm doing this morning. Now this is not traditional, but I made myself an iced coffee. I usually drink tea, but I had to jump into it this morning, so I didn't have. I'm going to set the timer for these biscuits only because I might be talking and forget them, and I don't want to burn them this morning. It's breakfast, so. But I'm in here. I'm going to make gravy when I get this lard rendered down. And we're going to have sausage, biscuits and gravy, and fresh eggs. These are eggs from our chickens, so we'll be having those for breakfast this morning. Donald's just having his traditional hot coffee going on. I would set you up over here from a distance so you could see, but then all you would see would be my back. So this is the easiest way that I've been able to find to show you what's going on this morning. I'm going to go ahead and take this sausage and put it on a little plate. One of my granddaughters has already started her breakfast. She's already come in here and got her some sausage. I think this will be enough for us. Usually we would have more sausage, but we just have 2 grandchildren here this morning, and me and Donald, so that should be enough. I normally cook my biscuits in a cast iron pan, but I didn't put them in a cast iron pan this morning. I just went ahead and used a dark bread pan because I could get the whole batch of biscuits in that one bread pan. And the cast iron does make it crispier and make them rise quicker. There is a difference for the batter when you use the cast iron pan, but this morning it just wasn't as convenient. So normally I would be cooking those biscuits in a cast iron pan. But this morning it was just grabbing what I had on hand to make things a little quicker. My family will probably eat those biscuits with gravy over them. They'll crumble them up and put the gravy over them, so they didn't have to be pretty this morning. I just had to get some made. Donald loves fresh sliced tomato with his breakfast. I don't have fresh sliced tomato this morning, so that's not something he'll have until we get some from the garden. But we will have fresh eggs. And this is from my brother-in-law when he raised and killed his pigs. We were able to get into some of that, and he was sharing that meat, so this is pretty fresh meat. He will just have to wait on that fresh garden tomato. Maybe we can go to the farmer's market one day this week and somebody has grown them in a greenhouse and maybe we can get some from there. But right now we're just eating a traditional Appalachian breakfast with what we have on hand here. I'm in here fixing it. It's a little messy this morning. When it's time to make the gravy, I'll be making milk gravy. Milk gravy is a treat for us. I think I've shared with you before, when we were growing up, Mama always made water gravy. She made, wherever usually people would use milk, Mama used water. Because milk, she didn't grow up using milk, and milk wasn't readily available to her or her family. They picked, and they lived in shacks or little houses, small houses with not many rooms, and they didn't have a lot of pasture or anything like that to have milk cows around. So if they got milk, they would have to go buy milk, and that was expensive. They had 10 children, and that would have been expensive trying to keep milk up for 10 children. So they did not buy milk and didn't use a lot of milk in recipes. But we think that milk gravy is a real treat. So I usually make white milk gravy for breakfast for my family because it is such a treat. But Mama always used water wherever generally other people would use milk because it wasn't readily available. Now, something that was readily available was fruit. They always had apples of some kind. They always had cooked apples to add with their breakfast. I didn't cook any apples this morning. I do have applesauce, but I think I'm just going to skip the cooked apples and just go ahead and have this basic breakfast. Yeah, they had 10 children, and then they had one of the older daughters had a baby when she was very young. So they took that baby, and he became part of their family. So really there was 11 children and 2 adults. There was always a lot of mouths to feed. And this right here was a traditional breakfast. I'm making the rendering the lard for the gravy, and then I'll show you how I make some sausage gravy. I've got one granddaughter that absolutely loves biscuits and gravy, and she loves sausage gravy. She's here today, and she'll be enjoying this. It's always a treat to cook for people that really love what you've got, that really love the way you cook, and really appreciate your cooking. Now, I cook this to share with my grandbabies because I want them to remember my cooking. I want them to remember authentic Appalachian cooking because it's part of our culture. This is the leaf fat that we've got from the pig. Here's the rendered grease. I'm going to take out some of this grease because I'm not going to need it all. Now you want to be really careful transferring that grease because you know grease is flammable. Or drippings, whatever your family called them. Now I used that little bit of flour from the biscuits that I was making. I'm going to add about a half a cup more flour. And I know some people are saying, wow, that's a lot of flour for making gravy. But you can see I don't have my gravy in a frying pan. I've got it in a pot. Because when I make gravy, I go ahead and make enough gravy for several meals. And this gravy's not only good with biscuits, it's also good on the side with many, many other meals. So I'm just going to cook this flour. You want to cook it to where it doesn't have a flour, it doesn't taste like raw flour. So I'll be cooking that just a few minutes here. It does have some of the bits from where I cooked the meat. Now if you want more sausage bits in, you can crumble up sausage and add it to it to make your meal meatier and more substantial. You just kind of keep it moving. so it's not sticking to the bottom of your pan. That's what I'm doing there when you see me whisking that around. I'll be using milk today because that's traditionally what a lot of people use to make their gravy, especially their white gravy. You know, there's brown gravy that's made with like beef broth and other animal broth, and your gravy will be brown. Like with squirrel. Squirrel was always served with brown gravy. For breakfast, we always had white gravy. I'll get that good and cooked up. I'm glad that Mama used water. It really taught us how to substitute water. If you're not able to drink milk, if you have a dairy intolerance, a lactose intolerance, then learning to substitute water for things that normally milk would be added to is a real skill. These biscuits are about to be ready, so we're going to get them out. Put some butter on them. Now normally, growing up, we certainly would have had cat head biscuits. And the only difference in these biscuits and cat head biscuits is the size. A cat head biscuit is about the size of a cat, and if you watch my video, you'll see. I'll explain more to you about that, but we certainly didn't always eat cat head biscuits because cat head biscuits are big. These right here are probably about half the size of a cat head biscuit. And these biscuits would have been made if you were feeding more people. They would have made smaller biscuits to make them go further. If you had a smaller family, you might have made smaller biscuits. Now, Donald's grandma, she had a stint where she went and stayed up north, and when she stayed up north, she learned how to make some really small biscuits. So he really likes smaller biscuits because, well, he loves the cat head biscuits too, but he likes the smaller biscuits because that's what he grew up with in his household. His grandma taught all her girls how to make the smaller biscuits. And his grandma had 4 children. My grandma had 10. So there's just a little bit of a difference. Those cat head biscuits were made to be the majority of the meal. They were used before the family bought sliced bread, so they made a lot of handheld meals from those cat head biscuits. These little biscuits wasn't enough. Well, they'd had to eat 4 of them to get the same meal that they did when they ate the one cat head biscuit. So there's some differences, but you don't always have to make cat head biscuits even if you love them. You can make smaller biscuits with the same dough recipe. But in our family, these would have been called Sunday biscuits because they're little. And they were just the side of a meal. They look good this morning. Got them all buttered up. We'll wait for the gravy. The flour's got to cook just a little bit longer. And then we'll just move right on along. Get everybody some eggs fixed up the way they like to eat them. I have decided to go ahead and open a can of pears instead of having apples. We'll have pears this morning. That way we'll have a little bit of fruit. I like them cold, but most of the family likes them heated up.
That's good.
Hey, sweet girl. Are you ready for biscuits and gravy? The gravy's almost done. Okay. I don't want to scorch the flour, but it's good and done. So I'm going to go ahead and add the milk to this. I got into heating up the fruit and I almost left this in here too long. But I tasted it and it's not scorched, so we're going to go right on ahead with it. I'm adding probably about a quart of milk here. I'll stir that in. Got the milk stirred in. Now I'll just cook it a little bit till it thickens up. It won't take that long to thicken up. I can't neglect it though. If I neglect it, it'll be a mess. Got the fruit, the pears. Traditionally, this would be apples, but that's okay. Pears can be delicious too. They look good this morning. Got the wrong kind of spoon. I don't use a metal spoon on this pot. Here we go. Just heat this up a little bit. And I gotta work on the eggs, getting everybody some eggs the way they like them. Maddie, you want eggs? This will boil, and then as it cools, it'll thicken up, so it looks really thin right now, but don't let that fool you. It will thicken up. Now I'm going to take this time and just add a little bit of salt and pepper. I want to say about a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of pepper. Continue to fix that gravy. Heat this stuff up. I'm going to go ahead and get the eggs started. Some like fried eggs, some like scrambled. So I'll have to do a mixture of both of those this morning. I had to take a minute and taste these pears. They're delicious. Won't miss the apples a bit. They'll do just fine. They'll be really good. The gravy's still back there thickening up just a little bit. And I've got the pan ready for the eggs. I'm going to have to fry a few eggs because I got a little grandson that loves fried eggs. Got a little granddaughter that loves fried eggs too, but she's not here this morning. Here.
David.
Breakfast. You gonna eat outside?
Yep.
Those fresh eggs, they're darker, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
A lot darker than a store-bought egg. I hear your stomach growling. I didn't pepper the eggs because the kids don't like the pepper, but you like pepper.
I can pepper it afterwards.
Yeah. All right. Let's get you some eggs, some scrambled eggs.
Okay.
Here, I'll help you. Let me put the pepper on for you. You want it on just your eggs?
Everything.
We need a fresh tomato, don't we?
Well, that's gross.
Yeah. All right. Well, now it's time to go ahead and go eat. They're going to eat outside today. It's a beautiful day, beautiful morning, so they're going to enjoy their breakfast outside. Thank you for joining us this morning, letting us share our Appalachian, authentic Appalachian breakfast with you this morning. I appreciate you joining us like always. Until next time. Cookie, you're being very good. Yeah.